All right. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to week one, module one of English 215. This is going to be a brief overview of the work that you have to do this week. And I'm going to give you a couple pointers and some tips to think about just to help you along. These overviews will generally take, 5 minutes. My goal is not to take too much of your time, but to make sure that you know how to move through the module and what assignments are due this week. So you can start working on earning your grade. So, um, sharing my screen with you here now, um, we're going to go ahead and view this as a student so you can see what I see, or, I can see what you see, I guess. So you have my overview video here, or a welcome video. So watch that if you haven't already. It's just going to give you some good general information about the course. And each week, right, we move through one module of material. In this class, we use APA style. So there's tons of APA lecture support. If you haven't used APA style before, you can start to click through these pages and you can see good examples of APA styles. There's sample APA essays, all sorts of stuff. Interesting questions about how to cite, random resources. But then we get to our module one. And when it comes to module one, I'm just going to close all of these, most of these. Here we go. Um, it'll start with an overview, and then we get into the learning activities. And these are the most important things in my view. So the overview gives you a good idea of like, hey, these are the objectives that we're trying to meet, the things that we're trying to learn within this space. We're using APA style in the class. And I'll keep reminding us about that. Uh, so we have this overview, and the overview really of module one is, all right, we want to start to understand what APA style is, and we want to start developing some initial research interests and start, thinking about our research proposal a little bit, and how to navigate some databases. So that is really module one's goal to summarize. And then we get into the learning activities. Now, our class, we don't have a traditional textbook. We're able to find the resources that we need online, which is great. And you have these links to start moving through, right? So we're using APA, so you don't need to worry about MLA. And it takes us to this space, and it gives us some information to read. So you want to go through and you want to read these pages. You can expect to maybe take about, 30 minutes to 45 minutes or so, just like reading carefully through these reading materials and and thinking about them. Think of this as the assigned reading, right? That is designed to help build up some initial like foundational knowledge that we can then put to use as we start to research. Most importantly, through here will be the research question and research strategy, thinking through those, because again, this class is all about research and then writing about that research to help form an argument that we want to make later in the term in a researched argument essay. So we want to really focus on, figuring out how we develop a good research question, and so on. And to provide some additional lecture support here, a research question is something that doesn't just create a yes or no answer, because there's nothing to research there, right? You know, if I'm curious about, I'm looking at my stove right now, right? A research question wouldn't be, right, if I put my hand on a hot burner, will it hurt? Yes, right? It's an easy yes or no question. A good research question might be something about the development of that stove, right? Something related to, what is the most effective way to build a stove, right? If I have an engineering interest, or manufacturing interest, or, what are the most effective manufacturing plants, and what strategies are they using to produce high quality appliances, right? That's not a yes or no question, right? That's an investigatory question that's going to send me on a research loop, and that's what we want to do. So spend time, right, reading through these pieces, especially giving special attention to the questions and strategies piece. We have this fun little crap test thing, which is great. Um, And yeah, so there are our learning activities. You can expect to spend, a solid hour or so, maybe sometimes more each week, just going through the learning activities and always start there. If you do this first, it makes everything else easier because then once you get into the graded materials later, then you'll know better what to do. So our graded materials this week include a discussion about your research question. Okay, so we have this module one discussion, and you want to follow these paths, right? So you have to identify an issue, and then you're going to get into the databases. You're going to use opposing viewpoints and context, find some sources, and then you'll start to answer some questions about them. Remember, we're using APA. Note says, as indicated by your instructor, I'm your instructor, and we're using APA. And then you'll start to think about your research questions. And your initial post here, right, is due by this weekend. So by Saturday, before you go to sleep, you need to complete the initial post, and then you need to reply to your peers by the end of the day, Monday. We kind of work on a Monday to Monday schedule, so you can think about that moving forward. And this is the Indianapolis campus version of the library. Yours will look pretty similar, or depending on your campus, but you want to look for the databases. So here we have featured databases. Opposing Viewpoints is a featured database here, so I could just click on that. If you don't have that here, then you can click on A to Z resources, and that's how you'll find opposing viewpoints. Okay, so that's going to help you find some early sources and start to think about, your research topic and your research interest. We have a little APA style quiz. This is to make sure that you understand how that works. And you can see that next week, right, we start to really go in to write the research proposal. So this week is all about what's our topic, what are we finding, early research, finding some interesting things, developing a good research question, and then preparing ourselves for the proposal, which we'll be working on mostly for next week. So that is Module 1 overview. I want to highlight that PI academic paragraph structure here as well. That will really help you, I think, once we get into some of the actual writing of the course and any academic writing in general. It's something I bring up in every class because it's such an important building tool for us to build strong academic writing. So make sure you look at that. Of course, that's in the learning activities. If you're going through the learning activities, you're going to read all that, but I just want to give special emphasis to it here because it's something that I'll bring up later as well. So, hey, it's Monday. It's the start of the summer term. You're taking a class in the summer, which tells me that you're trying to get ahead. You're trying to take the next step in your college career to get you one step closer to your academic goals, to your workforce goals. And I think that's great. So I'm inspired by your desire to improve yourself, to improve your writing skills, your research skills that are applicable in effectively every career. And of course, really important as you are, growing into college educated adults, which to me really just means that you have the ability to research, you have the ability to question, and you have the ability to support your opinions through research and your own critical thinking. So that's what you're becoming. That's what this class helps us to become. Let me know if you have any questions this week. I'm going to embed this as a YouTube video, so it might take a little bit for it to pop up. But you should be seeing this on Monday or maybe Tuesday morning. Email me with any questions you have this week about especially anything related to assignments that you're unsure about. But otherwise, take it one page at a time, one step at a time, and develop your schedule this week, right? How are you going to divide what would be 6 hours of in-class time? How are you going to use those 6 hours throughout the week? Some weeks it's going to take you a lot more than that 6 hours sometimes. Other weeks it might take you less, but how are you going to use 6 hours? Figure that out this week. And don't forget to do your introduction. I want to know a little bit more about you. So make sure, even though it's not a graded assignment, let me know who you are. I'm always curious to know who's in class and interact with you there and just we just get to know each other a little bit better. All right, I ramble on and on. Apologies. Take good care and reach out to me if you need anything.